All right, let's take a look, man. The reason why I'm watching this video, though, guys, is because, well, you know, I occasionally do talk about RuneScape. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but like that was, I would say if there was ever a game that I would pin as like the origin game of my experience with MMOs, it would definitely be RuneScape.
What's up, sloppers? I'm Idyl. Welcome to my slop. You might not realize this, but a brand new MMO just came out. This is so exciting. And it came out by the guy who made the RuneScape, the original one, like this one, and then this one, and then this one. And then he left? Drama. Brighter Shores came out today as I'm recording this, and I played quite a bit of it. And I have thoughts. As you might be able to tell from the title of this video, I'm not like the biggest fan of the game, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Here are the reasons for that. First of all, new green screen setup. Wow, we love it. We love it. At first glance with Brighter Shores, it's impossible to not notice that it is a lot like RuneScape.
Heck yeah,
It's
looks
got
just like it.
tile-based movement. It's got skills called professions in this game. It's got graphics that are reminiscent of RuneScape 3, but actually better than RuneScape 3. The whole game, as you work through it, just feels a lot like RuneScape. And
Chat, what's the drama behind Andrew Gower leaving RuneScape? I know they sold it. I thought they sold it a long time ago. Hold on, look at this, dude. Look at this. Sold it for, so the Gower brothers sold it for 75 million. And then, what is this, 14 years later, it gets sold again for 910 million, approximately 1.1 billion. Good God. You think the Gower brothers feel some kind of way about that? It just tells you how much RuneScape, tells you how many people play that damn game. Look, tons of my friends, even friends of mine that don't even play, but maybe once a month, still have their old school RuneScape membership, just so that they can occasionally go on there, skill a little bit, do some Ironmans with the squad. You know what I mean? Some group Ironmans. And like, they have the best of times.
And that is impossible to ignore. And it shouldn't be ignored. That is one of the things that I think will be either the biggest draw to the game or the biggest turnoff to the game, depending on your feelings on RuneScape. And just like RuneScape, this is a point-and-click game. In fact, the only button you ever strictly need to use to play this game is your pointer. And this is my first big issue with the game. There's no edits for controls. I wanted to be able to move my camera with the middle mouse button like I can in so many other games that have this camera style, but looking through the settings, there's nothing. I wanted to reassign the hotkey for the sense spell. The sense spell just basically highlights interactable objects around you for like 2 seconds. That's a problem in and of itself, but it's a spell you can use a lot and is very useful. So I wanted to just bind it to 1 or something because the keyboard is not used at all in this game. Literally,
interesting approach.
There's almost no use for it. So I thought I could
even like the old runes, like RuneScape from, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, you could use all your F1 keys, which would be lined up for, you know, inventory, prayer. That way you could do quick swaps for everything. But that's been a thing for forever. So it's surprising that that's not included here. And it's just clicking.
Just assign it to any hotkey I wanted, but you can't. You have to use Control S to use the sense skill. That's ridiculous. The lack of ability to reassign controls or hotkeys or anything like that is an accessibility nightmare, so that's not good. None of the control schemes are too complicated in this game. I'm sure anybody will be able to play it using some external accessibility software, but still, it's not great to not have control reassignment. That's a super important part of video games. Luckily, this game is in early access, so I can see that changing, but still, getting off on the wrong foot. Another thing that got this game off on the wrong foot for me is the fact that you click to interact with NPCs and everything, like I said, but that just pops up a menu that allows you to get info about what you're interacting with, which is the same thing as the examine option from RuneScape, or you do the actual interaction, talking, harvesting, cooking, whatever it might be. You do this a lot. It is the thing you will do the most in this game, is left-clicking, interacting with things. So the fact that a menu pops up that you then have to click again might not seem like a big deal, but it is super, super frustrating. And this isn't the only interface issue with this game. Like the interface to buy things from a shop where you can buy 10 or 5 or 1 of an object is really weird. Why not be able to buy a custom amount or be able to buy a full inventory of something?
Okay, I get where he's coming from, but I also feel like those are like really easy fixes. My thing that I'm taking note of more than anything is, why does it feel like the render distance, is this just how the game is structured? It's just these tiles? You're just playing on these squares? It's not like a whole world? Like RuneScape's a whole world. It's just these tile structures that highlights when you step on them. And then that's it. It's almost like the render distance is cut off. That's a weird design here. Like connected puzzle pieces. Reminds me of Dungeoneering. Because Dungeoneering, and a lot of people didn't like I love Dungeoneering, but I liked it because it was just a skill, it wasn't the whole game. But Dungeoneering had its same tile-based layout, and you would open a room, unlock, or you have puzzles that you would do, and then that would unlock the next room. And so that had a tile-based system. This just makes me think of like a bigger version of Dungeoneering.
An extremely common use case. Instead, if you want to buy a full inventory, you have to go 10, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the only way to do it. That's crazy. Why did you do this? The game is covered in surface level issues like this that are super easy to fix, but they need to be fixed. And this is a first impression. It's important to get this stuff right, because once you lose players from an MMO, it's really hard to get them back. So it might seem like I'm nitpicking here, but they are genuine frustrations that I felt right off the bat. And yeah, this game's a lot like RuneScape. So make it more like RuneScape. RuneScape has solved all of these issues. I mean, this is crazy. So just know, as I talk about this whole game, I'm pretty infuriated with just interacting with the game. And that's important to keep in mind the whole way through. After completing a pretty long hand-holdy tutorial that is actually nothing like RuneScape's tutorial, you get to play the game. The first thing you might be drawn to do is to train your professions, and that makes a lot of sense. In episode 1, you have fishing, cooking, guard, and gathering, and alchemy. And they're fine, I guess. They're all fine. It's important to know that these skills are locked to episodes. There are currently 4 episodes out right now with a 5th forthcoming, and I'll get into why I think this might be one of the worst parts of the game in just a little bit. You train your professions just like you would skills in RuneScape. If you want to fish, you go fishing. But first, you need to find a spear. So after wandering around the map for a little bit, which is a bunch of joined together rooms that are fit together like puzzle pieces, which I actually really like from a stylistic perspective, but you go from room to room until you eventually find the fishing store. It's frustrating to find rooms in this game, but that's just kind of how it is. You have to go into every alley and every store and house until you eventually get to where you want to go. Until you find the fishing shop, you buy the fishing spear, you go catch some eels or some pufferfish or some flounder, whatever your level is to catch, and you get XP. Unlike RuneScape, the max level in this game, at least right now, is 500. I didn't get to 500. I struggled to even get to 15 in any of these skills, but still, it's good to know there's a lot of vertical progression available because that is one of the issues.
Holy shit. 500? For those not familiar with, if this follows the same XP cadence as RuneScape, there's no fucking way, dude. There's no fucking way. All right, so the way the XP cadence goes in RuneScape is because it ramps up exponentially. 1 to 92. Level 1 to 92 of a skill was 50%. And from 92 to 99 was the other 50%. So you might be level 92 and you're like, look, I'm at 92. I'm only a few levels away from 99, which 99 was the max. That's why they had 99 capes. You're only halfway. You made it to 92. All the hundreds of hours you just put in to get to 92, you're about to do that same shit again to get to 99. 500, there is no way in hell it follows the same XP increases as RuneScape.
Issues with RuneScape. The 99 level cap does limit a lot of options, so this is interesting.
Why not just get used to the fact that you'll never reach the cap? You don't need to always get the max level. Yeah, that's some non-RuneScape talk right there. Oh, you obviously have never played RuneScape. Okay, the goal of RuneScape is to flex. How do you flex? 99s, man. How do you think 199 is how you flex? No, multiple 99s. It's called skill capes. It's literally your way of walking inside of a bank, a village, a fucking castle wars, wherever, and be like, my dick is this many skills big. It's extremely important. It is the most important thing.
And I'm curious to see how this leveling system gets filled out. Training your professions will unlock the ability to do new things with that profession, as you might imagine. For example, with cooking, you'll be able to cook more complex meals, starting with a bacon sandwich and moving on to a basic omelet or to vegetable stew. One thing that is a little weird is that a lot of times when you unlock the ability to do something new, for example, catching a new type of flounder, you don't go somewhere new, you go back to the old flounder spot and catch a new type of flounder. Every resource and enemy in this game has a prefix and then what it actually is. Like this little ivy thing is creamy. Why? I don't know. But as you level up, eventually it will become different types of ivy in the same location. And then you can use past actions to get prior versions of that if you need.
That's interesting because again, in RuneScape, and this, look, a lot of comparisons are being made here to RuneScape for obvious reasons. But in RuneScape, whenever you would unlock a level to obtain a new thing, you physically have to change locations. All right. So if you're, you know, what is it? Next to Camelot, Sears Village, you would catch lobsters. And then you would go up to, it's been years, man. I don't know, wherever the barbarian outposts or close, not the actual barbarian outpost, but you would go up there and catch monkfish. These are drastically different locations, physically located, and different biomes that you would have to travel to capture these items.
Need it for potion making or whatever it might be. And this is where I start to feel the other inspiration for this game. Possibly, it's at least a similarity, and that's Albion. If you've ever done resource collection in Albion, the feeling in this game is...
Yeah, there you go. Catherby with lobsters, fishing guild with sharks. There you go.
...is extremely similar. It's different enough where I'm not gonna say it's a carbon copy, but it feels the same, except it's much more frustrating in this game. For example, when fishing, you have to wade through the water going from spawn point to spawn point, and you can very easily catch them faster than they spawn, so you're just left waiting. And even at the earlier levels, it is still slow. I'm actually pretty sure the leveling in this game is linear. I'm not 100% sure on that, but all the levels felt like they took essentially the same amount of time. So
that would explain the 500.
It just never felt like things were getting faster or harder or slower or easier or anything like that. It all just felt the same. And that's a frustrating part, especially when you start doing the quests. The quests in this game are very simple. It's almost kind of like RuneScape quests where you just get told to go back and forth between places over and over again. And that's fine. I mean, quests don't have to be anything special, but my big issue comes with just the second quest I tried to do, which was called the Lost Shipment. To do the Lost Shipment, I needed to get 25 fishing at one point. I didn't think that was that bad. I was wrong. Like I've already said, interacting with stuff in this game is really annoying, and when you have to constantly interact in the same ways and even in the same places, because like I said, higher level stuff will just replace the lower level stuff in the same areas, things get repetitive so fast, and I got bored really early, like really early with this game. It became a grind way faster than I felt comfortable with. When I was playing with a friend, he described it as Andrew Gower, the creator of the game, imagining you would come out of the womb addicted to this game, because that's kind of what it feels like. It doesn't have a good reward loop before making you grind for decently long periods of time, and that is not sick, it is gross, and I dislike it. So anyway, I got to level 16 fishing, and then I stopped because I was bored. So I went to do something else, and that something else I decided to do was the main quest. To do the main quest, I needed to get to level 15 guard, which is a simple enough thing to do. It's like any other profession, except for this one, I just need to kill stuff. All of the monsters in every episode have their own combat level, I guess. I don't know if it's strictly a combat level, but there's a number assigned to them, and the higher your guard level, the easier they'll be to take down. I did this a bunch of times. I died, I was frustrated with how long it took, so I switched to doing alchemy. And that's the best thing you can do if you're going to start playing Brighter Shores, is to just bounce around. Don't stick on one thing, because you will probably get very bored unless you are a very specific type of player. And it's actually a good thing I did alchemy, because there are 5% XP boost potions and even more as you level up your alchemy. That was super neat, because it helped me get to level 15 guard pretty quickly, and it helped me round out my total level to level 60, which is the additive number of all of my professions combined. And that is a requirement for the main story quest. And after you do all that, you can finally go to episode 2. And episode 2 is where I realized that this game might have a flaw that is so deep that I might never want to play it again. Like I said, all of your skills or professions are tied to the episode you're in. So episode 1, which takes place in Hopeport, has the fishing skill and alchemy skills and all of that. When you enter episode 2, you get a new host of skills. You get Scout, which is the replacement for Guard, which is just the combat skill. You get woodcutting, carpentry, and other stuff. They're totally new skills. You start at level 0 or 1 in all of them. But what you might notice is all of my gear and even my XP potions are now labeled and grayed out with this episode 1 text on them. It basically means they're useless. I mean, I can still use them strictly, but in episode 2, you want to be using all episode 2 gear. Again, that is just progression, I guess, but it feels a little strange. And then you realize that none of your skills from episode 1 are going to carry over or be useful in episode 2. So progress is very much based on the episode you're in. And that is really strange to me. If you ever want to train your fishing, you have—
Who does that? Hold on. This is the first time I've ever heard of something like this. Outside of like seasonal resets. This is more bizarre because this is not a season. An episode, even though they're calling it episodes, just seems like natural progression in the game. The fact that your items are not useful in the next episode, because the goal of playing a game like RuneScape is to continuously keep building everything up. Like it's always, you wake up, no matter what your day goes like, you at least go to bed knowing you gained some XP, you did something, you made some sort of progress. So each episode is basically a complete reset? Yes. At least from what he's explaining it here. This sounds crazy. This sounds extremely detrimental to at least RuneScape players and their mentality.
Have to go back to episode 1 and train all your fishing in episode 1. And the stuff you do with the fishing in episode 1 will be useful in episode 1. And when you go to episode 2, that's all gone. It is now only useful in episode 2. The stuff you do in episode 2 stays in episode 2. And that, like, what? So it just doesn't matter. There's something I like about the episode system. I like that it's like a whole different world, essentially. But making progression meaningful cross episode, even in tiny ways where there's new rare types of fish, even if they're not as many as there are in episode 1, inside of future episodes would be really cool. And it would make your character not feeling like they're getting totally reset every time they switch episodes.
It's just such a weird design. Like what is the end goal here? Is the end goal to be really good at episode 3 versus 2? Is there going to be at episode 9 is going to require a certain level of fishing from episode 2? So, okay, then you got to go back to episode 2, grind up your fishing level to then be applicable to episode 9. That's the only thing I can think of that could possibly work. I've never heard of this. Has anyone else, have we seen this in any other game? Maybe Once Human. The only about like those type of games, it's like that's a seasonal, like Diablo, it's a seasonal reset over, I don't know, what is it, 3 months? That's a seasonal reset. This is like he's doing this all in the same day. This is all within hitting. This game came out early access just a few days ago. So he's hitting all of this. These are like just natural biomes that you're going to be hitting in the game itself. You're not living in just one of these tile zones episodes for a duration of like 3 months. And it has a seasonal reset.
It makes the world feel segmented in a way that doesn't really feel that good. When I entered episode 2, I was excited to see what the game had to offer. And there are cool things in episode 2. Like you get to choose your, I don't know if it's a class, but basically you get to choose one of 3 types of magic. And it's kind of like Pokemon. Yellow, good against blue, and then blue, good against green, and then green, good against yellow.
Your combat triangle, all right.
And you just pick one, and then you become that. And that's, there you go. It's called the combat triangle. That's also from RuneScape. But the fact that episode 2 is basically starting over, it just doesn't sit right with me, especially in a game where grinding is such a key part. I would like for my progression to be meaningful across the game. I don't know if this is something that will change or if with more time that actually does become the case.
That seems like a hugely fundamental core feature of this game. Like I feel like maybe Gower designed the game off of this system. Maybe they can change it, but it seems like he went in there with the attention behind this. And keep in mind, like, I mean, Gower, they made RuneScape. You know, it's not like they don't have good ideas. You know, I'm just trying to wrap my head around why this approach. What is the aha? This is it. This is the next phase for this type of gaming.
But at first glance, it was a real demotivator in a moment that felt like it should have been a milestone for progression. So at this point, after entering episode 2, I was already, like I said, pretty fucking bored. I had done only 2 of the quests from episode 1, the main story, and then just a side quest that let me tune weapons to an obelisk, which is a system I don't fully understand, but seems to be important because there's an obelisk in episode 2. But I was basically just, you know, bored. The early part of an MMO should be the part you focus on getting right the hardest. And this isn't right. There's no part of this that made me feel like I was moving forward or progressing in the world. And more importantly, there was no part that made me feel like, wow, I cannot wait to continue progressing. Now, this is just me, but it's a sentiment that seems to be echoed on Steam, where the reviews are still mixed. If you can't get the early game right, even if it's an early access, that's a big red flag, because you only get one chance to make a first impression. That light just died, so that's why the lighting changed. But anyway, Brighter Shores, as you might tell, is a game that I am conflicted about. There are really good parts to this game, and it's mostly the parts that take from Runescape and Albion, but my problem is it's worse at being those games than those games are. So if you're someone who wants to play RuneScape, I don't see why you would play Brighter Shores over playing RuneScape. And if you're someone who wants to play Albion, I don't see why you'd play Brighter Shores over playing Albion, at least not in the state it's in. When so many of the fundamentals are either missing or poorly executed, it's hard to justify recommending this. As it stands right now, I don't feel like Brighter Shores has A, discovered its identity and what it wants to be, and B, has not polished that identity, because it's so frustrating to interact with still. I'll be making a full video about Brighter Shores and the topic of new MMOs on my main channel, so make sure you subscribe to that, link in the description. But I will go play some more Brighter Shores and tell you if my thoughts change over on Blue Sky. You can follow me on there. But yeah, point being, I don't know if this game is gonna last. It doesn't seem to have legs to me. It's too flawed. I hope I'm wrong though, and I hope it improves. And Andrew Gower, I'll always believe in you, my little baby boy. Okay. I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Well, that's unfortunate, dude. By the way, great video here by Slop. This saves us some time, because we were about to download the game and try it out. I think I may still try it out at some point, but I also feel like just looking at the tile systems. And look, here's the thing. Gower, he's a game designer. He's the one that made RuneScape. Obviously, he made this with a certain intention in mind. And maybe, just maybe, there's like some secret sauce here that's going to grab us the way RuneScape grabbed us. But in my opinion, if I had to boil down to what RuneScape possessed for me the first time I picked it up, I picked up the game in 2007. Might have been 2006. I think it was 2006. I picked up the game. I did the tutorial. It was very basic, tutorial island. And, you know, I get thrown into this world. And, you know, I'm seeing people walk around me. You know, I see this one dude. He's got like, you know, bronze armor. And I'm like looking at my stuff. I got like a wooden sword. And no, there's a bronze sword, short sword, and a wooden shield. And I was like, dude, that's some dope ass shit. How'd you get that? You know? And, you know, RuneScape was also the first game that you could interact with people, or at least I could interact with people. I never had that experience before. So you could literally type this, you know, whatever you want and talk to anyone that you wanted to. But what RuneScape presented to me was this huge world that was incredibly punishing. I remember I went out to the desert and was like, oh man, what's this cool place? And then like, as I'm like walking to the damn desert, the desert town, a damn scorpion comes out and just kills my fucking ass. And you know, when you died, you lost your shit. And like you log out, you're like, you know, f this, I'm not playing this game. I'm not about to waste my time. You log out and then you're like, I'm gonna go watch TV. You go watch TV and you're sitting there and you watch TV, and then something creeps in your mind and says, hey, you know, you just quit like a little bitch, don't you? That scorpion just took all 32 gold, your bronze sword, and your wooden shield. You're gonna sit here and keep watching TV, and then you log the f back in. You go find another fucking bronze sword, and you get to grinding. And eventually, you get an iron sword. And you go back out there, and you find that scorpion, and you pick that scorpion up, and all of his family and friends. And that is the RuneScape way. I don't know if this game possesses that. I'm not sure if this game possesses that. It doesn't seem like it quite has that magic. We'll see. I don't know. I may try it out at some point.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.